All right, let's talk about something that affects millions and millions of women, but is just so often pushed aside. Today, we're going to completely reframe how we look at gynecological pain. It is not some normal burden you just have to carry. It's a critical signal, and it's one we absolutely cannot afford to ignore anymore. So, let's dive right in. This right here is our foundation. It's the core truth for everything we're about to cover. Pain, especially period pain, is not some rite of passage. It's not a character-building exercise. It is a signal. It's your body sending out a direct, urgent SOS, a cry for help.
So you'd think we've listened to that cry, right? Well, how about this for a staggering number? 76%. In up to 76% of cases, that cry for help, menstrual pain, is just normalized by doctors. It's dismissed. It's trivialized. This isn't just a number, you guys. It's a massive systemic blind spot, and it's exactly why we have to understand what pain really is.
Okay, so I want you to completely rewire how you think about pain. It's not just a symptom. Think of it more like a blaring red alarm, a biological siren that is only triggered when there's actual damage happening inside your body. It's not the problem itself, but it's the loudest, clearest signal we have that a problem even exists.
Now, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to talk about inflammation. And check this out. The word itself gives us a massive clue. It comes from the Latin word inflammare, which literally means to set on fire. And that's not just some poetic metaphor. It's a pretty literal description of what's happening on a microscopic level. It's a biological fire.
And this slide right here, this lays it all out for us. This is the core idea. Your pain is the smoke. It's what you can feel. It's what gets your attention. But the inflammation, that's the hidden fire that's actually causing all the damage. And just like a real fire, the thicker the smoke, the bigger the fire. I mean, you would never ignore smoke pouring out of your kitchen window, would you? So why on earth are we so often told to ignore these smoke signals from our own bodies?
Okay, so let's zoom in a little closer on this biological fire. What is actually going on in there? Well, you can basically think of it as a tiny, microscopic war raging inside your body, and it's being fought by your very own immune system.
And on the front lines of this war, you've got these little soldiers called mast cells. They're like the infantry of your immune system. And they can be triggered by all sorts of things: stress, hormones, you name it. When they get activated, they start firing off these inflammatory bullets. But there's one in particular that's so important for this story. It's a molecule called nerve growth factor, or NGF. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. NGF doesn't just make your existing pain signals louder. No, it actually causes new pain fibers to grow, and it pulls them closer to the surface of your skin and tissues. It's a process called superficialization, and it's the reason why, for someone with chronic inflammation, something as simple as a gentle touch can feel excruciatingly painful. It is not in their head. Their nervous system has literally been rewired by this biological fire.
Okay, so now that we get what's happening under the hood, let's lay out 5 fundamental truths about pain. And these truths really challenge the way pain is so often treated, or not treated, in medicine.
All right, here we go. Number 1, pain is real. Period. It's that red alarm. 2, if you ignore that alarm, acute pain can turn into chronic pain, which becomes its own disease, an enemy that actively changes your body. 3, ignoring the fire lets it spread. This ups your risk of all kinds of other diseases. 4, chronic pain is a massive biological stressor. It keeps your body flooded with cortisol in a constant state of emergency. And number 5, and this is a big one, so often the fire starts in the gut. So if you remember one thing from all this, let it be this. This should be the mantra for every patient, every doctor, everyone. Never normalize, never trivialize, and never ever deny pain. Your pain is valid, it's a signal, and it absolutely deserves to be investigated with curiosity and respect. Now let's circle back to that 5th truth, because the connection between your gut and gynecological pain it's just so incredibly strong. And yet, it's almost always overlooked. It's a huge missing piece of the puzzle. Get this. In a major study of over 1,000 women with vulvodynia, that's chronic pain of the vulva, a completely staggering 94.7% of them, almost all of them, also reported having gut issues. That is not a coincidence, people. That is a profound, undeniable connection. And this chart really just drives the point home. Look at this. The rate of irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, in the general population is around 5%.
But you look at the rate among women with vulvodynia and it skyrockets to 28%. That is more than 5 times higher. It's clear proof that the gut, the vagina, the bladder, they're all part of one interconnected system.
Okay, so we know the pain is the smoke and inflammation is the fire. So the big question is, how do we spot that fire early on, before the whole house is engulfed in flames? Well, to do that, we need a totally new way of thinking about diagnosis itself.
Let's try another way of looking at it. What if you thought about a chronic disease, something like endometriosis, not as a single snapshot in time, but as a whole movie, with a beginning, a middle, and an end?
So, this disease movie has 2 halves. Now, conventional medicine usually waits around for the second half. That's the part where they can actually see lesions or tissue damage on an ultrasound or an MRI. But here's the problem. By that point, so much damage has already been done. The real art, the real challenge of medicine is learning to diagnose in the first half by recognizing those first frames, the early symptoms.
And this right here, this is exactly why this matters so much. On average, a woman with endometriosis waits 8 to 12 years for a diagnosis. 8 to 12 years. That's a decade or more spent stuck in the incredibly painful first half of her movie, all while being told that her very real cry for help is just normal, it's just not acceptable.
But here's the hopeful part. We can spot those first frames. This data is just incredible. Look at how the odds build. If a woman has heavy bleeding, her odds of having endometriosis are already 5 times higher than average. Now, you add severe period pain to that, the odds jump to 12 times. And then if you add deep pain during sex into that cluster, the odds just explode to 23 times higher. This shows us, without a doubt, that listening to the cluster of symptoms is the key to unlocking an early diagnosis.
So, we'll end on this thought. Your pain is smoke. It's a signal and is pointing to a fire. It is not something you just have to put up with. It's a message that deserves to be decoded. Your body is talking. The real question is, are we, and is the entire medical system, finally ready to sit down and listen?